Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. Today we're cruising around in the refreshed 2016 Infiniti QX50, which receives a number of updates this year, including tweaked exterior styling and most importantly, a longer wheelbase. So you get a lot more interior space, especially in the rear seat, making this the most accommodating and practical variant of this vehicle Infiniti has made to date. Which is funny because this is my latest week-long press vehicle, and when it showed up, I was like, oh, it looks almost the same as the one that's been for sale since 2008. And while it hasn't changed a whole lot, I'll cover the differences again in just a second. Once you really dig in and start to notice like the different proportions and stuff with having the extra length and the longer wheelbase and stuff, I mean, it's quite cool. And it makes it that much more competitive still in this ever-expanding and cutthroat luxury crossover segment, or compact crossover. I mean, like I said, this vehicle has been on sale since 2008. It originally started out as the Infiniti EX35. It had a 3.5-liter V6 that produced just under 300 horsepower and a 5-speed automatic transmission. It was very much related to the G35 sedan, so it had a bit of a shortened wheelbase compared to that, and the front midship engine layout and stuff. So it was designed to be a very, very sporty crossover for its day, and it still is very much sporty. Of course, anybody following the automotive market in the last 8 years very well knows that this segment has absolutely exploded. Every premium manufacturer offers some form of compact luxury crossover, making it really hard, honestly, when it comes to the decision process and actually buying one to figure out which one is the best. I mean, they're all really, really good in a lot of ways, and there's even some extra variants. I mean, you have like the BMW X4, which is like a coupe-inspired X3, so there's a lot of interesting things out there. But my goal with this video is not to tell you that the QX50 is the best or class leading or so, but to explain why it still has a very unique position in the segment. I mean, of course, you still have the X3, you have the Audi Q5, you have a lot of newcomers like the Porsche Macan, you still have the Acura RDX. I mean, like I said, it's so much, I just cannot remember it all. There's at least 15 or more. So continuing on with our background information, the EX35 stayed pretty much the same between 2008 and 2010. In 2011, they added this 7-speed automatic transmission and dropped the 35 from the name, so it just became known as the Infiniti EX after that. Compared to the 5-speed automatic that was in it before, I mean, the 7-speed is a wonderful transmission and continues to this day. It's very responsive and very smooth, and I wish it appeared in more Nissan products, just instead of like CVTs and stuff. It's a good, well-rounded transmission. The other thing too, there's a sport mode that you can click it over, it raises the shift points, makes things a bit more responsive, and you have manual shifting by the console selector as well. There's no paddle shifters, but I wouldn't really expect that for a vehicle platform that debuted in 2008 anyway. But you do have rev matching downshifts in sport mode and manual mode, so it's pretty cool overall. It still does its job very well for 2016. The other big change came in 2013, where Infiniti replaced the 3.5-liter V6 with a larger, more powerful 3.7-liter V6, and that also continues to this day. It still offers excellent power for this class. I mean, 325 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque. In a segment where most of the base engines are turbocharged 4-cylinders or something like that with, I don't know, 240 horsepower or something, but still, it offers excellent power. I mean, fuel economy is pretty decent, 17 miles to a gallon in the city, 24 on the highway. In mixed driving, I've actually been averaging around 22 miles to a gallon, so not too bad overall. So before we start talking about styling and dimension changes, let's talk about how the QX50 drives, because, you know, for a sporty crossover, that's a very important element. I've driven a lot of different offerings from this segment, and this is the first time I've been behind the wheel of one of these, and I've spent a whole week driving through the countryside, through cities, like highway and everything, and it's a very well-rounded package. I mean, it has all the elements you would typically find in a sports car: fully independent suspension with double wishbones in front, a multi-link rear with front and rear stabilizer bars, and the suspension includes a lot of aluminum components as well, so less unsprung weight, greater agility, and all that good stuff. It's available available in either rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Our tester is rear-wheel drive, and I mean, it still has a ton of grip in the corners and stuff. I mean, you probably won't notice that much of a difference unless you're like, you know, inclement weather, snowy, icy, slippery scenarios. But the engine, it's placed in what's known as a front midship layout. So the V6 is longitudinally mounted because it's a rear-wheel drive vehicle, and it sits behind the front axle center line for better weight distribution, which is awesome. I mean, combined with an excellent suspension that's taut but not too stiff, it's still very comfortable, it absorbs bumps very well, and very responsive, nice firm steering. It drives great. I love it. Like I said, power and performance is also very, very strong for this class. I'd estimate 60 miles an hour can be hit in less than 6 seconds, maybe 5.5 seconds or so, combined with the very responsive transmission. I mean, it's a good ride overall. If you're looking for something with that extra grunt, the QX50 is definitely something you're going to want to consider if you don't want to spend a whole lot more money on like a Porsche Cayenne or something like that. So let's go ahead, like in all my videos, and get a bunch of sound shots. We'll start it up, we'll take it down the road, get some harder acceleration so you can see what it's like. All right, here we go from a standstill. It's not too bad. The only thing is this engine sounds a little bit coarser than some of the other competitors and stuff. It's a bit louder, but unless you're like absolutely burying the pedal and stuff, it's still pretty quiet. Wind noise is tame. There's a lot of good sound insulation. Alright, so the dimension changes. Unless you park this vehicle next to the previous QX, you're probably not going to notice the differences, like in the overall body size right off. Proportionally speaking, the two are practically identical. It really takes a trained eye to spot the differences. There's larger rear doors, the door casings are redesigned, there's a new rear floor pan, and the roofline is a little bit different. Other than that, I mean, the two vehicles are basically the same. It's all very well integrated, which is nice. I actually think the changes made this look a lot better. I like vehicles with a bit of extended length to them, so this appears more substantial, more prestigious, dare I say. And I think it matches more of like the styling and stuff seen in the newer competition. So good changes overall. The wheelbase grows by 3.2 inches, accompanied by an overall body length of 4.5 inches. The ground clearance is also increased by 0.8 inches, so it rides a little bit taller than the last QX50. All of that translates into a total interior cargo volume that's 8.3 cubic feet more than the last one. That doesn't really apply to the front passengers or the cargo space. A lot of that extra room is for the rear seat, which has 3.9 inches of additional knee room and 4.3 inches of additional leg space, which makes it absolutely huge. I'm 5'10" and I sit back there just fine. I mean, it's almost like an extended wheelbase luxury sedan back there, which is really cool for this segment, and definitely something you're going to want to consider if you want something more on the roomy side. Comfort is also first rate. There's so much padding in that back seat and good overall support, a big armrest that comes down. It's a really nice place to be, especially for a traveling vehicle. Likewise, front seat comfort is also good. I mean, Great lower back support. The headrests are nice and soft. Everything is adjustable from the seat belts to the headrests and everything. Good lateral support across either side. There's adjustable lumbar support. Aesthetically, I really like the way the QX50 looks. And even though it's a more dated design, I mean, they've updated the front clips, like new grille, new LED fog lamps, like bumper, lower fascia, the rear bumper with the twin exhaust outlets and stuff, like all that stuff's been redone. The side skirts, so it looks very, very fresh. The QX50 starts out around $34,400 or so, and with all of the options, our tester stickers for about $43,500, including destination. So it's not too bad. You can obviously spend a whole lot more on some of the competitors, especially like, you know, the Audis and BMWs, the Porsches, where options become a little bit more bespoke and stuff. One of my favorite things about this vehicle, same with a lot of new Infinitis, is the interior. The dash layout is absolutely beautiful. There's a lot of soft padding, good build quality all throughout the interior, and there's a generous list of standard equipment and a ton of available premium options. Like this example has the upgraded 11-speaker Bose surround sound system with 2 subwoofers. It sounds awesome. I mean, you have just about every convenience, safety, technology, anything you could ever want. I mean, blind spot monitoring, lane departure warning, rear cross traffic alert, a 360-degree camera system, adaptive cruise control, and so much more. The only downside with this vehicle is the fact that it is basically 8 years old now, so a lot of the technology and stuff used in it is not as updated and intuitive as some of the newer competition. When a lot of manufacturers have adopted more modern systems that use like rotary dials or even touchpads or something, the Infiniti system isn't bad. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not as intuitive. You have this button stack here that corresponds to like going between different menus and computers and navigation, info like weather updates and fuel economy, vehicle status, all that kind of stuff. You have voice recognition, satellite radio, Bluetooth technology, both telephone and audio streaming. So you have everything a modern car would have. It's just within an infotainment system that takes a little bit to get used to if you're more familiar with some of the updated setups that have like higher res graphics or bigger 8.5 inch screens. So that's probably the only thing, but that's really an arbitrary thing just to point out. I wouldn't let it turn me off of buying this vehicle whatsoever, because I think the rest of the interior, I mean, this thing is aged absolutely gracefully. For a car that came out in 2008, the interior styling, the build quality, it's top notch. I think it's just as competitive now, just because when you take into the quality of like how everything flows through the dash and the door panels, and you have little subtle chrome trim here and there, a little Bose tag across the mid-speaker. There's good attention to detail and enough quality that makes it deserving of its price tag and within this luxury crossover segment. I think you get a lot of bang for your buck here, and just down to the little things like the little analog clock in the middle right there. It's just details like that I absolutely love. Interior storage is pretty good as well. There's door storage pockets to either side. There's a lockable glove box with a pretty good amount of space. You have 2 cup holders in the middle right here amongst a little padded lid, which is a nice extra touch of quality. You can actually press a button and open up this little trap door that deepens the well, so if you have like a tall water bottle or something, you can put it in there, not worrying about it flopping out basically. There's a 12-volt power outlet right here instead of a cigarette lighter, little felt tray, and a pretty good amount of space in here where you can access another power outlet and a USB port. Last thing to discuss is cargo space. It might not have as much cargo space as you might expect for a small SUV or a crossover, but it's got a little under 19 cubic feet worth behind the rear seat, which to me sounds like a lot. It's definitely a lot more than you would get in a mid-size sedan typically nowadays. So you get a bit of extra practicality with going with the crossover route, and you can fold down the 60-40 split rear seat and really expand cargo space all the way to the front for larger items and stuff. One thing that I find so cool, and again, it really sets this vehicle apart as far as a value standpoint, is that the rear seats are actually powered, fully powered. There's controls in the trunk that allow you to lower them and raise them, and there's two controls in the center console right here adjacent to like the snow driving mode and stuff and the heated seats, that if you aren't back there and the seats are folded but you want to bring it back up, you pull the little lever and they will go up. That's a really cool feature. I mean, in general, I think the QX50 is an excellent choice in this segment. Even though it's a little outdated as far as technology is concerned, it rides great, it drives great, it's got a powerful engine, the styling is still very fresh. There's no logical reason why someone shouldn't still consider this unless they just want the latest and greatest technology. That's it, really. All in all, I still think the QX50 has what it takes to stay really competitive in this segment. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to stay tuned next time. There's always a lot more where that came from. Take care, everyone.